So Ravi, thank you so much for joining us in this next edition of the Fire Up series of startup interviews that you're doing, founder interviews. The whole idea was share some experiences. Every startup has some experiences that work very well for them. The idea is to share these experiences with other startups. So we're picking specific topics for the conversation with each startup. And in your case, of course, there are many things we could pick, but we picked one which we thought was very, very relevant. How do you get kind of traction for a consumer product, consumer wearable, especially healthcare product, where the expectations may be a little high and like concerns or the worries also may be a little high. So how do you build traction for a wearable product? So mainly identifying the avenues. I mean, traction comes in adoption, but how do you identify the avenues? So that's the topic we discussed. I mean, we identified for the conversation with you. So Ravi, thanks for joining us. Just to get the context, to set the context for the conversation, can you just in a couple of minutes narrate your journey with Monitra?
Sure. First of all, thank you very much, Ramesh, for inviting me for these Fire Up talks. It's always a pleasure, engaging with CIE. I think CIE is doing a fantastic job for, budding entrepreneurs, and the kind of resources and avenues that you guys provide is phenomenal at the stage that, people want to enter into entrepreneurship. So talking about Monitra, so before I go into Monitra, my background has been into medical devices for the good, last 13 years. The first half has been in the US in an R&D role. The second half has been into commercial sales and marketing with Johnson & Johnson in their cardiovascular care franchise. We started Monitra about 4 years back. The fundamental reason for starting this company was my grandfather had fallen sick, and then it was quite challenging for us to understand what's going wrong with him once he had been admitted to the hospital. So he had an episode of fainting, and then they kept him in ICU for 3 days. The doctors came back and said that he had changed his medication, and then due to which he fainted, and then post follow-ups were quite challenging for him. So that's when we said, okay, can we do something in this space that makes monitoring extremely easy for patients? Now, being in healthcare, one of the things that we realized is that as soon as a doctor knows what's wrong with his patients, the therapy kickstarts pretty well. It initially starts off with medication, which happens close to around 95% of the time. In case medications don't work, then you go into aggressive intervention. But then the biggest dilemma is how do you identify disease at an earlier stage so that an acute intervention or a life-threatening situation cannot occur. So that's where we said, okay, given my background into medical devices, and as a startup, it's very important to focus. So we said, okay, let's focus on one particular area. So my area of focus was cardiovascular care. Decided to focus here. Within cardiology, there are 3 major segments. You have coronary artery disease that causes heart attacks. You have heart failure and heart rhythm disorders. So between these 3, I chose to focus on rhythm disorders, which is again a very small segment, but it's a substantially large sort of an opportunity across the globe. So it's a number of patients with this particular condition is anywhere between, say, 15 to 20 million patients in India, and globally it's about 50 million patients. And the addressable opportunity in India is about $1 billion and globally about $10 billion. So it's a relatively large opportunity. So we decided to focus here. Now the question is, as a startup, what is the problem that we're looking to solve? So when we looked at this particular space, 2 major symptoms that patients experience. One is fainting, like the one that happened to my grandfather. And second is patients have these episodic palpitations. The biggest challenge in this particular space is that these symptoms can happen, anytime, anywhere. It's very difficult to identify. And it's very important for a clinician to capture data at the time these episodes, present themselves. There are these, golden standard devices like, say, ECG. So typically what happens is that when a patient has these symptoms, doctor says, go to a diagnostic clinic, get an ECG done. But by the time the patient goes to the diagnostic clinic, he doesn't have the symptom. So the data that is collected is not useful. The next best solution is something called as a Holter. Holter has been very useful in clinical cardiology for the last 4 decades. But the challenge with Holter is that, patients find it extremely difficult to wear these devices for extended monitoring. So on one side, you want doctors want patients to wear these devices for, say, 7 days, 10 days or longer, because the longer you monitor, the higher is the likelihood of a symptom happening and the better is the diagnostic yield. But patients don't like to wear these, age-old devices because they are extremely cumbersome to wear. They can't sleep well at night, they can't take bath, and skin irritation starts where these electrodes are present. So that's where we came up with this concept that how can you make devices extremely simple and easy to wear, something that the patients don't even feel as if they're wearing something, and extend the duration of monitoring from say 1 day to almost like 7 to 10 days. So that's where we came up with this concept of a patch. It's like a band-aid like patch where you peel it off, put it on the chest, and then we do continuous monitoring. Anywhere between 1 day to 30 days is what we do. So that's our concept, and the product is called Upbeat.
So how did you, I mean, now this is well, at some level can be a consumer product. It's not a consumer product, right? I mean, it needs medical advice in terms of how and when to use it. So how did you find the channels for this? I mean, because while we think of wearables more as a consumer product, right? Watches and such, we look at it a little differently, but it's not a normal wearable. So what were the avenues that you identified for this product to find its way to the users?
So the thing is that, Ramesh, to a certain extent, I've been in the medical device industry and specifically on the commercial side. So I have a fair understanding of how things work in this particular space. So talking about medical devices, a couple of things are very critical. So it's important to have a very strong advisory board, who consists of, good clinical doctors who are very well respected in the industry. So that's the first thing that we did. We roped in a couple of doctors who, understand the area or who are experts in our area. And also, these are very well recognized within, their peer group and in their fraternity. So that's one. Second is in terms of channels, medical devices has a network of distributors across the country, and it's highly, I would say, asymmetric in terms of knowledge. So as a layman, you don't know whom to approach these distributors, but they have strong relationships with doctors. They have strong relationships with hospitals. They have strong relationships with the key purchasing people within the industry. So it's important to find these right distributors, to sell these products. In case you don't know these, the other best option to go after is hospitals. So, you tie up with, a couple of key hospitals in your particular area and work with them for early pilots. So these are a couple of avenues that, I think one should be looking at, Ramesh.
So what are the one is the fulfillment channels, right? Once there is a requirement, so that's where some of the distributors and all that might come. The other thing is the even the referral channel. So does the fulfillment channel go and build your referral network, or do you have to go and work on both sides? You have to work with doctors on one side and then the fulfillment channels on the other side, or how does it normally work when you look at these channels you described?
So the thing is that okay. So what you're saying is right. So ours is saying, let's take the case of our device, Upbeat. Our business model is a prescription-based business model where doctors prescribe it to indicated patients, and then we charge patients based on the duration of monitoring. So in this particular case, the question is how do we get prescriptions, and then prescriptions depend on say referrals that come through. So in this particular case, what we have done is, like I said, that it's important to align yourself with say good doctors who are very well recognized in the fraternity, and we have feet on the ground who go and approach doctors and talk to them on two fronts. One is the clinical evidence around what we have done. Second is how would the whole prescription process work through. So that's helped to a certain extent. The other area to go about is, for example, this is working for us in Hyderabad, but we can't scale with this model in other parts of India. So what we have done is, say in Delhi, we have identified a couple of distributors who already have these channels and already have existing relationships with the doctors. So identifying that particular channel partner is a critical thing. Now the question is, once you have identified, why will he push your product? Because your product will not be the only product in his basket or in his portfolio. So as an early stage startup, you will have to share out a significant chunk of your revenue as margins for your channels. So that's something that one would have to keep that in mind while going and talking to channels or channel partners. The other thing also helps, Ramesh, is I think it's a very important thing to network around the industry as well. So one of the things is that, say, we have been talking to various players in this industry. So we've spoken to, say, pharmaceutical companies, we've spoken to medical device companies. So a lot of medical device companies have liked our product. And since our doctors, are key opinion leaders for these medical device companies, so we got a good amount of traction. So some of the medical device companies themselves have liked our product, and they have, provided us referrals as well.
So, I mean, so that I was going to ask you, but that would be my next follow-on as well. Now, especially when you start going going with the dealer network where you're not talking to the doctors yourself. That distributor or dealer is supposed to go talk to the doctor and come. So you need a kind of some kind of a marketing cover, so to speak, where the value from the product is kind of understood by a larger community. So what are those avenues? How do you get this word out? I mean, are there the fraternity conferences that you have to go to, or what are the avenues for that? I mean, if you have to just build a wider coverage for the value that your product builds, what are the avenues to bring that understanding?
So, okay. So the way I would put it is, when we talk about marketing, three things are very important in marketing of medical products. Okay. Number one is, so who has already used your product makes a big difference. So it's the same thing like influencer marketing in, say, consumer, where you find a guy who already has tremendous amount of influence. So for example, say, if you get a guy like, say, Steve Jobs in case of consumer product, you need to find a similar guy in this particular industry who's a very well-known face. So if you have your initial pilots with this guy and you receive endorsements, that go extremely long way, because all the distributor has to say that, okay, this person is using it and he's liked it. So that makes it very believable for people in this industry. That's number one. Second is, it's very important, since one is in healthcare, to develop clinical evidence dossiers. So what is the clinical evidence with respect to usage of the product. So in our particular case, what we have done is we have done 3 preclinical studies. We have done one clinical study, and then there's another clinical study that got started because a doctor wanted to use a similar device for a long period of time, but they couldn't find anything for them. So they themselves started an investigator initiative study using our device. So things on the clinical evidence side go an extremely long way in healthcare. The third thing is the economic value proposition. So in healthcare, it's a multi stakeholder sort of a industry. So on one side you have a doctor, the other side you have a hospital, you have distributor, and obviously us as the company, and then obviously patient at the center. So whatever we are creating, what is the economic value proposition, that fulfills or creates significant economic value for every stakeholder is one needs to look at.
So, how, I mean, like you can get, I mean, in the city you live in, you probably have a good personal network. But if you have to get, like, say, somebody like Dr. Devi Shetty or somebody, how would you, I mean, like, what would your kind of suggestion be on how would one go and get somebody like that? If you have to get a very well-known doctor to try your product, how do you, I mean, eventually, yes, the product's value proposition is one that will connect. But how do you get to that point where you can even explain the value proposition? So anything that you need to do upfront before you go and meet such a doctor, or any suggestions that you have from your experiences?
So it's extremely important that you get one doctor like this. The question is how is what you're asking. So the how part will only happen through network. So it's extremely important that you network around well, and you need to find the right person who can connect you. So this will only happen through networking, because if you go as a lay person, it's very difficult to get face time with say the key stalwarts in this particular phase. So for example, if you approach through CIE, CIE itself is a brand. If you can use network of CIE, or if you know certain doctors within your family and all, that's the only way that I think would work. If you already don't have, say, connections. The other thing is that if you don't have a product at hand, okay, it's very difficult for you to get a good engagement with a significant figure like, say, Devi Shetty. So it's very important to reach that prototype, your early stage prototype, and develop a certain clinical value proposition around it, and then go and approach. The other thing that I've found is that, see, typically what happens is, before you reach, say, a person like Devi Shetty, it's important to find a person, a good, need not be of the same stature as, say, Devi Shetty, but also at the same time, find a good doctor who's willing to spend time with you on the product. Because there's nothing better than getting, clinical time. Sometimes in the process of chasing a person like Devi Shetty, you spend a lot of time and effort, but then you lose critical time. But if you can find another doctor who's willing to spend time with you and help you build the product, and also ensure the first sales happen through that person, and is willing to buy the product, that goes an extremely long way as well.
So you have to get some validation before you go reach some of these larger profile doctors. So work with somebody who's Anybody who's good and willing to work with them closely, get the trials, validation, and such before you go to such a. I mean, makes a lot of sense.
That's
Makes a
correct.
lot.
So Ramesh, in this, it's very critical to identify the right partner, because you see, typically what happens is, from my experience in this industry, is you have a lot of people who are well wishers and are willing to spend time with you. But the problem that happens is that when it comes to giving advice versus actually going ahead and influencing the initial few purchases, it's a significant chasm out there. So when you're identifying the first person, I think it's important to be upfront that whatever advice that you give me, are you willing to purchase this product if you were to create it? I think if that kind of a relationship or expectation is established, I think that goes a long way.
Are there any incentive models that you are aware of that works? I mean, getting the doctor, such a doctor as a co-founder, equity, or are there any incentives that work with such doctors?
So there are various models out there. There's no straightforward model in the Indian ecosystem, because it's still evolving right now. There are some doctors who are interested in equity, but that's not a lot. The other common model that, say, big medical device and pharmaceutical companies engage is honorarium. So if you set up a time frame of 6 months for every interaction and for every this thing that you do, what sort of honorarium can you pay? But it's a challenge for startups, because you play with very little cash at hand. But that's where you have to strike a balance. So convincing the doctor and getting his time and attention onto the product, it becomes very critical.
No, that's super critical. I mean, if you don't get that validation, then the product becomes a very academic product. So, in fact, we are just launching. It's getting announced today. We've done this informal in the past, but now we're launching it as a formal program for very early prototype stage. We don't want idea stage because we don't know how serious they are. But this early prototype stage startups, we are doing a clinical immersion with the hospital. We are saying that you go just spend a week there. And the hospital is going to participate. It's a large medical college hospital. So they will facilitate required meetings, whoever they need to meet. But we're saying it's an immersion. It's just a hospital immersion to validate your product idea before it's ready for anybody to use.
So that's a big thumbs up, Ramesh. I think if you can facilitate that, that will be significantly helpful for early stage companies to get validation. If it's a week's time, or once you establish relationships with a couple of doctors during that 1 week, you can still go ahead and work with those specific doctors at a later stage as well.
For the follow-up,
that side of connections are very, very important.
So this is something we've been talking about from the healthcare standpoint for almost 2 years now. But we just couldn't get a motivated hospital. The program structure was there, but like Apollo came, but Apollo was so difficult to work with because from their side also, they don't know who they are working with. If they're convinced, they will invest the time. So, but when a startup, so they also have their own challenges. So anyway, now we are formally launching this as a program that will happen like at least every couple of months because this hospital is very motivated. Mallareddy Health City near IIT. And so, yeah, I think it's a very valid point. So, so just to conclude, Ravi, I think these are all fantastic tips. We will share this kind of in a blog post as well. So it's available for ready reference for other wearable startups. But before we wind up, from your experiences, both in the industry prior to that, but more specifically as an entrepreneur, one growth hack tip that you would share with other startups.
So when it comes to wearables, it's a hardware play. So it's very important that, to cross the bridge of, say, prototyping to eventual manufacturing. That's a significant, step. So one advice that I would give is that if you're working on the wearable side and if you're creating hardware, it's very important that you identify manufacturers upfront and get them involved in prototyping as well. So that way, your ability to switch from prototyping into eventual manufacturing is much smoother and faster.
Makes a lot of sense. We see so many startups that have decent prototypes, but just get stuck there because at some level, hardware products, the fit and finish demonstrates so much of confidence in the product. Right. Even if it works well, if you see like it's all hanging cables and such, your confidence in the product is very low, even if it works well. So I think absolutely, I think it's a very bang on. Don't wait till it is done. You need a partner upfront, even as you're doing small scale prototypes. I think makes a lot of sense. So Ravi, thank you so much for taking time off. I'm sure, like, given that you're in the healthcare space and you're also dabbling in COVID itself, so you must be extremely busy right now. So thanks so much for taking the time, and thanks for joining us, Ravi. And all the best with the current phase and also beyond lockdown.
Thank you very much, Ramesh.